May I speak in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. In our first reading, on the readings on the sheet, we hear the story of from the Acts of the Apostles about how the disciples, all listed by name, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brothers, and others, were all gathered together, waiting for something to happen. And in some ways, the seventh Sunday of Easter is a Sunday of waiting. Not the kind of Advent waiting where we're waiting for Christmas. Not the kind of Lenten waiting where we're preparing ourselves for a journey. But a kind of, oh my word, what next? What next? Jesus, on the 40th day of Easter, we remember the Ascension, where Jesus is ascending to the Father. And so it is on the Sunday between Ascension Day and the 50 days after Easter, Pentecost, we have a place of waiting. In some ways, it's quite sort of ironic, isn't it, that we have a reading about people waiting in a house for something to change. I think that kind of sums up how a lot of us are feeling. Waiting for something to change, waiting for something to be different. Not sure what, not sure how. Waiting for it all to change. The beauty is they're waiting for the Spirit to reveal itself once more. They're waiting to understand the depth of the story of Jesus. They're waiting to see things in a new way. It's interesting when you couple that with the Gospel reading where Jesus says to the Father, protect them, those who are following me. But when you follow the very last bit of the Gospel reading through, protect them so they might be as one. I hope and I pray that is what we are thinking in this great nation of ours as we wait for things to be there, as we hope to have some kind of protection, that we might be as one. Wouldn't it be marvellous to put aside differences and disagreements, to be as one? Not to blindly or blandly follow things that are wrong, but start to see how together we can form something that works. One of the criticisms I heard recently of our government is that the way the Parliament is laid out, with two serried ranks facing each other, two sword lengths apart, and not enough seats for the people who turn up. How does that encourage discussion? If I go into a conversation so full of my own ego that I can't see the other person might have a difference of opinion, what does that say about my desire for us to be one? There is something about humility in this, if we want to be as one. I have to step aside from all of the things that I think are so very important and listen. Hear. Listen attentively. Attentive listening is exhausting. I think that's one of the things I've found over this last few weeks, months, is ringing people up and listening. When you're on the phone with somebody, you are listening intensely, attentively. By the end of the phone call, it's quite exhausting. But you begin to hear what the person is really saying. There's the level here where they're speaking, and down below are all the things that are coming out, and you're hearing them. You're hearing where they're at. One of the stories I've been hearing recently is how frightened people are. Frightened. Not just frightened of this unknown virus that can't be seen, can't be dealt with, doesn't seem to be going away, but a fear about what happens next when we step out of our safer environments. What will happen? How will we be? But isn't each conversation we have like that? when we are with somebody, when we meet them with a humility and with a grace to let go, we step into that relationship and we find out more. And sometimes it's quite scary to have to let go of the things that we think are so very important. Sometimes we shouldn't let go of them. Sometimes they are that important, but the majority of things about negotiation is seeing the other person has value. So, this is where I'm at with this 7th Sunday of Easter and this story of waiting and this story of protection and this story of being one. Is as I prepare myself for the 50th day of Easter, Pentecost, where we start to think about the Spirit bursting out once more, I'll need to think carefully about how I treat people, how I listen to people, how I engage with people, trying to see the things that are very important to them and to me, and find out where the common ground is. The monks at Taizé have this way of being. Brother Roger of Taizé set this up, that when they meet with people, they don't find out what identifies them as being different, but they look for those things that identify them as having something in common. And from that commonality, so they begin to grow. So may we, as church, as followers of Christ, seek to be one by finding the commonality, the common thing that joins us. And if I might just suggest, once more, it's that thing called love. Amen.